Hi there, my name is Mitch Haralabidis, and in this video I continue my video series on 6.2, which is about confidence intervals of population proportions. This time we will be working with the conditions that we should meet so that we are allowed to use or to create valid confidence intervals. So, once again, so far we knew and we saw how to create a confidence interval for a proportion using just a simple formula. However, like I said before, is this always possible? Are there any conditions that must be met that will allow us to proceed, or can we always find a confidence interval without caring about any restrictions? Before constructing a confidence interval for a proportion, for a population proportion that is, you must verify three conditions. Condition number one, it's called a random condition. You should make sure that the sample you are using is selected randomly from the population so that you can avoid bias. So, ask yourselves, was the sample obtained through a random sampling method? And the random sampling method could be a simple random sampling, a quota random sampling, a stratified, and so on. If yes, then bravo. First condition is met. Condition number two. It's called normality condition. In this condition, we must make sure that the sampling distribution of the sample proportions, and we talked about sample distributions in Unit 5, must be approximately normal. Remember that in order for a sample distribution to be approximately normal, we have two new conditions. We need the expected successes and failures to be at least greater or equal than 10. So, we need to make sure that the sample size multiplied by the sample proportion and the sample size multiplied by the 1 minus the sample proportion must both be greater or equal than 10. On that, let's see example 4 on the left. Assuming that, and let me write it again to enhance understanding, assuming that we have a size of sample 50, from which we got that the sample proportion is 0.12. Now, we need to see if normality condition is met. To do so, we have to verify that n times p is greater or equal than 10, and that at the same time n times 1 minus p hat is also greater or equal than 10. Let's go then. 50 times 0.12, that is equal to 6. And no, it's not greater or equal than 10. Do I need to check the other condition? No, I don't. Even if one of them fails, then the condition itself fails. This means that for this specific example, the normality condition has failed, was not met. This means that even if the first condition, which was about the random sampling one, or the third that we have not yet mentioned, even if those two are met, still not all three of them are met, which means that we will not be able to create valid confidence intervals. Of course, we are always able to create confidence intervals since after all this comes after a formula. However, it won't be a valid one. Now, if we have changed in a different scenario with a sample of 200 individuals with a sample proportion of 0.38, then in that case, n times p hat would have been equal to 200 times 0.38, which would be equal to 76, and at the same time n times 1 minus p hat would have been equal to 200 times 0.62, which would be equal to 124, and here both are greater or equal than 10, which means that yes, normality condition is met. Let's recap. We have seen a random condition, normality condition. Let's go to the third one. It's called independence condition. When sampling without replacement, then the sample size, and without replacement means that if one individual has been selected, he or she cannot be reselected. So when we're working with sampling methods without replacement, then the sample size we have obtained can or should be no more than 10% of the original population. Remember, we don't want it to be greater than 10% of the original population. And this is called independence condition. Let's see the fifth example. A school has 200 students. Could we sample 30? Could the sample size be 30 and lead ourselves to satisfy the independence condition? Let's see. 10% of 200, it's obviously 20. This means that we should not use more than 20 students from this school. Of course, we could, but if we did, then we would be sure that this sample is greater than the least that we would like, so that the validity of the confidence interval is on. Remember, once again, all three conditions must be met so that we can create a valid confidence interval. A random condition, 2 normality condition, and 3 independence condition. And this is always the first thing that you should be doing when working with confidence intervals. And that would be all. On the next video, we will talk about margin of error and we will see some of its applications. For now, I hope this video helped you. If it did, don't forget, like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. As always, thank you for watching.